I'm back. This is Chandler for Melda Production, and today I'm going to show you how you can create some variation and some humanity to your drum loops in MDrummer. So, of course, this is fine if everything's just, repeating the same thing over and over again if you're playing like EDM or hip hop or something. But if you're playing something like rock or especially jazz or fusion, you want some variation so it's not just the same loop playing over and over again. Even if it's the same basic rhythm, you want, a few variations. So I'm going to show you a few ways you can do that. So what I have here is just the modern vintage drum kit here. And I'm using just the basic rock pattern. It sounds like this. Okay, so now let's go into the rhythm editor so we can see how it's done. So here, if I click this, it's on E, and let's start with this pattern, D. So this one is the same thing, it just doesn't have that open hi-hat. It's a very basic rock pattern like this. Okay, so you heard it, and one thing you're probably thinking, hey, how come this third bass drum hit isn't playing? So if I click here, if you look where it says minimal level, that means anything under that level won't play. And you're thinking, okay, is this the velocity? And it's not. It's actually this level here. And this is controlled by which key you play, or you can control it manually here if you like. But let's say I go into here, move it. See, different keys have different levels. So this one's at 18, which is less than 19, so that's not playing. So that's just a quick thing you're wondering, why is this happening? But that's why. So let's get off of that and let's go into here. So one way we can make some variations is by using the probability. So let's first think about like, okay, how might I want to add some variations? One thing I might want to do is add some ghost notes. So let's go here. So I added just a snare drum here. Let's make sure we're not using this minimal level. I don't want that to be there because it's not going to play. So make sure that's 0. Okay. And now if I play this, it's going to sound like 2 snare drum hits and it's not going to sound good. Don't want that. So let's move it down here. Turn the velocity way down. So you can affect everything here, but I just have it on velocity now. So let's hear this. Okay, now let's add some more. Let's add one here. And let's add another one down here. So let's hear this now. So, of course, this seems more interesting, at least to me, but you're like, that's not a variation, really. You just change it from one loop to a different loop. So, we add the variations by clicking here. We can highlight each of these. So, this first one, let's change the probability from 100%, so it plays every time, to, let's say, about 45% of the time. This one, I want it playing most of the time, but not all the time. So, not minimal level. Move this down to, let's say, like 73. And we can move this down to, let's say, 52. So now let's play it, and you'll see that sometimes some of these don't play. And also, if you notice, they look visually smaller the lower you turn down the probability, which is good. It gives you some visual feedback. But let's hear it. So you heard it's kind of mixing things up. So it's like, oh, it's not the exact same thing all the time. And I could do this with other drums, but that's just one way you can create some variations. And it's really cool, at least for me. So let's look at another way we can do this. Let's go to loop 2 here. So we see this is the same thing. It just has the hi-hat. So that's cool, but let's say we like the hi-hat, but I don't want it to play every time. Let's say I just want it to play every like 4th measure or every other measure or something. What I can do here is take this and look where it says here and just copy this. And here, what this is the loop box. So for every key, it'll have this box here. Now it just has one, but we can add another loop by just pressing plus. Now, where we just copied it. Now we're going to paste it so we don't have to write everything in again. Paste. Now we have the exact same thing. But we don't want that. We want to move this here and move it all the way down like that. And this is actually, let's keep the same pattern, so let's move the velocity down a bit like that. Okay. Now, one thing I might want to do here is where it says additional here, I want to go into here. I like to turn this down just for my own reasons, but where it says random loops, I want to turn that off and sequencer mode off. If you don't, it will probably revert back to the first one after it plays once. That's really annoying if you're trying to edit breaks or something else. So I just like to do this. That means whenever I hit play here, it's just going to play whichever loop I have selected. In this case, loop 2. So let's hear this. Okay, so that so far is cool, but you're wondering, okay, well, how do I get to switch back and forth in a song? Now, of course, here I can just switch back and forth with my mouse click, but you don't want to do that when you're playing the song. But we can do that through MIDI, and one way we can do that is like this. We'll just go into here, and what we're going to do is we're going to alter the velocity, and that will help us choose which loop will be played. So here I have one, and if you notice here with these, if you look next to the loop editor, so loop 1 says triggered by velocity around 32. Loop 2, triggered by velocity around 96. So this one, I'm going to move my MIDI note here till it's around 96. It actually doesn't have to be that exact. So like here, it's like 98. That'll work. And here, let's say the last bar, I should be on E here. Now let's make this 32. Okay, now when I play this, it should play the first one, or actually box 2, it's not the first one, the second one, 3 times, and then when we get to this 4th bar, it will play the first one with the open hi-hat. So, let's play it. Okay, and then if I wanted to do the same thing again, I could write the loop again, I could copy and paste this whole thing, etc. But you get the idea of how you can use that. But let me show you one more thing here, and we can do that, and we can take this whole idea farther. So if, let's say, I like this, but I want more variations. I don't want just the same thing. I want to do the same thing I did before with the random things with the ghost notes. Instead of doing this whole thing again and putting the probability stuff in there, we can just make more of these loops. So let's take second one here. I'll copy it. And now let's start adding some ghost notes, for example. So I'll add one here. Add one here. For this, I'm not going to use the probability because I don't need to. I'm just going to make more loops here. Let's see. I could add a 16th note here with this bass drum like this. Let's add something here. Another hit here. Trying not to make these too loud, but I want them loud enough so that they're heard. Paste another one. Let's see. Let's move this up. There. Add a few more ghost notes. I don't want to go crazy. Don't want to waste your time here. And let's add one more. 6th here. Okay. Add a few more of these ghost notes in here. Like this. And let's add a crash cymbal. So instead of this open hi-hat, I'm going to right click here, change track type to, say, a crash cymbal. Now let's add one of these. And I'll delete this hi-hat here. Okay, so let's listen to this one with the crash cymbal first. So this is cool. But what I want to do is, instead of going in here and like adding all these MIDI notes with different velocities, I want to have this play automatically and just have the computer switch it for me, randomly. So I'm going to go back into here where it says additional, and I'm going to turn random loops and sequencer mode back on. Like this. And then when I go into MIDI here, let's erase this one. Don't need that. Now this first MIDI note here, all I have to do is bring the velocity all the way down. And what that's going to do is it's going to randomize what is played here. So I'll play this, and it should skip between these randomly. Okay, so got to the end there. You get the idea. So you can use this to add variations. I could add more in here. I don't even know how many you can do, maybe 50 or so. So let's see. Yeah, so there's a lot in here if you want to check. I can scroll to 24. I think you can even do more than that. But you can add these variations in here easily, and this can kind of spice things up so it's not always the same thing every time. And by using these techniques, you can create something that sounds a little bit more human besides just using the humanization. So this will help hopefully give you some more like interesting drum patterns. So if it did do that for you, give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment below if you have any questions. Check out all the other plugins at melderproduction.com, and until next time, see you.